I know that my mom often speaks of me and talks of the work that I do in the natural hair community. So from the minute I walked in, I had a lot of women that were asking me questions about hair. So I created this to be short so that we can have a little Q&A girlfriend time at the end. Okay? How many of you all are natural? All right. It's a beautiful thing, right? Embracing your kinks and your curls. We are happy to be nappy, right? Right? All right. So, my presentation tonight, as you all read on the program, stand tall and be unique in your own way. And just looking at this title makes me kind of emotional because being unique is it's not always an easy thing, right? You know, we talk about natural hair in particular. I'm sure many of you all, when you think about the history of our people, natural hair has not always been a beautiful thing. As a matter of fact, some of us still have difficulty seeing it as a beautiful thing, right? If we're really honest. And that's okay. I'm not up here to be the natural hair ambassador. Okay? So do you. If you like your weaves, I wear them too sometimes. Okay. So Erica, let's go to the first screen. All right, so here's my story. As she mentioned, I'm the third of 6 children, and I'm a PK, pastor's kid. That's not always an easy thing either. How many of you know that? Right? We got PKs in here? All right. And as a PK, I had many different challenges. One of them was that I struggled quite a bit in school. This weekend I was going through photos and I was looking at some of my old report cards, and one of the comments that a lot of my teachers would write on there is about how I daydreamed in class a lot. You remember this, Mom? And so my mom was kind of concerned. She's like, you know, what's going on? You need to make sure you're paying attention. And my career path and my journey in life has been very different from all of my siblings. All of them have bachelor's or doctorate or master's degree. Well, I'm a beauty college graduate. No college, no professional educational college, and I'm okay with that. Because everybody's not meant to go to college. If you can go and that's your thing and you can be studious, more power to you. But I'm an artist, I'm a dreamer, and so I know that that's where I'm meant to be. So actually what I want to do now is just take a little bit of time, I hope you guys don't mind, to just thank my mother.
Yes, yes.
Go to the next screen. Okay, Mom, I know. All right, so I brought you these flowers. So I want you to come up and receive these. And as you look at this photo that you probably didn't want me to share, just think of the flowers and how loved you are. So my mother was my number one inspiration and still is. She is truly a Proverbs 31 wife and mother. And I was studying, and the scripture that came to mind when I thought about my mom, which you guys see it here on the screen: charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. And so in this day and age, as we think about how Black women and women in period are portrayed, whether it's the reality shows. How many of y'all watch Real Housewives? Don't lie, raise your hand, you know you're watching. So we're not being portrayed in a good light, okay? And so in particular, African American women, and that's something that I speak on with my social media platforms as well. But my mother, she was a stay-at-home mom to 6 children. So let's just give her a hand for that. Because I only have 3, and I just don't know how she did it with 6. It is a very special calling. And then you add to that being a pastor's wife. We need another hand for that. Okay? All right. Not everybody can do it. And so, yeah, let's really thank you, Mom, for being an inspiration to me. So my mother encouraged me to share my talent with the world. I think that when you have children, if you're blessed to be able to spend time with them and develop a good relationship with them, then you kind of get to know each one's personality. And so my mother was able to do that, and she encouraged me to share my talent with the world. So she's a big part of why I'm able to do what I do. She was very much, and still is very much, an inspiration. So let's go to the third screen here. Okay, so discovering my unique path. Brittany, my sister, was looking at this picture and she said, "Dang, you was skinny?" So I wasn't I? So yeah, in addition to growing up in a PK's family, my parents were what I would consider to be very conservative. And so as you can imagine, as an artistic and creative personality, that was kind of challenging, okay? And for me, I looked for an outlet, you know. I hope you guys aren't too serious, but just being that we are part of Kachusa, you guys know that there were a lot of things that we couldn't do this. Couldn't do this, couldn't do that, can't do, no, that's a sin, no, that's a sin, no, that's a sin, right? Look at Rachel. So, you know, you had to find a way to have a creative outlet. And so for me, that was beauty. And probably around junior high is when I started to experiment with makeup. And of course, my mother didn't have a lot of makeup, maybe a couple of Fashion Fair lipsticks. How many of y'all still got those lipsticks in your purse? Oh, y'all shaking your head. Y'all gotta support Black owned. Okay, Johnson Publications. So my mom, I would play with her makeup. I'm thinking about the first time that I experimented with makeup. We were in Kansas City. I don't think I've ever told this story. Pat, don't you go back and tell Rachel this story. So we were visiting my dad's family in Kansas City, and my aunt Rachel, I guess she would be considered, she was kind of more of the glamorous auntie. You know, she would wear these really nice clothes and take these glamorous shots, and you know, so she left her makeup bag in the bathroom one time when I went in there, and I got into her makeup. I'll never forget, I put on a CoverGirl green eyeliner. I think I might have been about 12, and I just remember looking in the mirror and seeing how that green kind of, you know, really enhanced my eye color. So that was the first time that I kind of dibbled and dabbled in makeup. I actually stole that eyeliner, don't tell her. So I did, I took it home, and I remember she called my dad like, "One of your kids took my eyeliner." But I knew that my mom, you know, my mom and my dad, we were living in such a conservative home, they weren't gonna buy me the makeup, so I had, you know, I had to do what I had to do. Okay, so also during this time, of course, you know, the one thing about being a PK is you have this wonderful blessing of growing up in a Christian home. And although it is very challenging, you know, you're different from the other kids at school, it also just gives you a wonderful foundation. No matter what you go through in life, you always go back to that Christian foundation. So I accepted Christ and started my relationship with God, and that, of course, changed me in different ways and helped me to discover my unique path. So let's go to the next screen. Okay, so as I got older, as most young women, I started asking myself, you know, who am I? You know, you're looking in the mirror and you're trying to accept all the different things about yourself. For me, and some of my aunts are here, we full hips run in our family, okay? Some of us like them, you know, we got Kim Kardashian, all these people out here. It's the hot thing right there. Y'all know about Kim Kardashian? Yeah. Okay. No? Well, you know, people are getting butt implants and all this kind of stuff. Because they want to have these full hips. So that's something that, you know, you have to learn to accept. We already talked about hair. And so as I got older, one of the reasons why I went natural is I can remember looking in the mirror, and any time the little kinks, you know, the new growth started coming in. How many of y'all know about new growth? Y'all know about that new growth? You're like, I gotta get my perm. You know, and I was just like, you know, I would like to look in the mirror and think that I'm still cute with the kinks coming in around my head. And so that's really inspired me. That is what really inspired me to go natural. Is I wanted to be able to look in the mirror and look at my hair in its natural state and like who I was. So I went natural, and I did it kind of differently from what a lot of women are doing nowadays. How many of you guys are into or are familiar with the natural hair terminology? Anybody here? Okay, so do you guys know what the big chop is? Yes, okay. No? Who wants to tell us? Somebody tell me what it is. What is it? Okay, so it's when you cut all your relaxer off and you start wearing your hair natural. And as you can imagine, that's a very dramatic thing, especially if you go really short and your hair used to be long. So you chop it all off. Well, when I chopped mine off, I started growing locks immediately. And again, you know, growing in a very conservative family, I can remember my mother was just like, what is going on here? You know, she was like, wasn't really feeling it. But what ended up happening is probably maybe a year or two after I grew in, I ended up getting my first hair campaign, and that's what this photo is. So this is me with locks, and I just really felt that wearing my hair in its natural state, it was a wonderful way to say that, yes, my black is beautiful, okay? So as I was, again, studying, I thought the scripture that came to mind was, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, I know that full well. So for me, it was accepting my natural hair and going on this natural hair journey, but for somebody else, it could be somebody different. I was reading an article today, and the woman was saying how that a lot of times after you have children, your body is never the same anymore. So you might have been a size 4 and now you're a size 12. Y'all know about that? And that can be really, really difficult for a lot of women to accept. But I firmly believe that whether you're a size 20 or a size 2, you're still fearfully and wonderfully made. All right? There are so many different standards of beauty, and it's very challenging, especially for us as African American women, to see ourselves portrayed in all of our uniqueness, from the skin tones, light, dark skin, curvy hips, as I mentioned. We have to make sure we're putting that out there, loving ourselves and promoting that. So Eric, you can go to the next screen. So as you guys read in my bio, largely inspired by my mom, I decided that when I had my children, I would become what I would like to call a mamapreneur. You guys know what that is? Okay. So I was working as a freelance makeup artist. I had done some modeling, worked with MAC and all these different companies, but I decided that once I had children, I wanted to stay home with them. And it's been a real blessing, and it's largely in part to why I've been able to have opportunities such as this one and other things that you'll see on the next slide, because I've stayed at home and God just opened up so many doors as a result of that. So, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope in the future. So a lot of times we don't know what that future is. You know, I think probably when I first started being at home with my kids, I might have been a little naive as to what that was going to really entail. Because my mother made it look so easy. You know, she got the dinner on the table every day, ironing curtains, you know. she just did it all. And so I just, you know, assumed that it was going to come that easy for me. Well, it hasn't been. And sometimes I second guess myself.